like YouTube for now until it decides to completely get rid of you, which would be very unfortunate. But what is it's like the risks of being in this kind of industry. I think that obviously being on the cutting edge is a good thing. However, you know the problem with being on the cutting edge is sometimes people don't like you all that much, and the people who don't like you all that much sometimes can shut your stuff down. And hey, guess what? We're live. Hey everyone, I'm gonna hit the intro thing and then we'll get started. So hey everyone, it's a fantastic Friday. Have the very happy pleasure of speaking with the one, the only Rodrigo of Dash Brazil. How's it going, man?
Hi everybody, good to be here. Good to be live. Yeah, we never done a live one before, so yeah, good to be here. A lot of things happening.
Yeah, I mean, I think we had you on the podcast back in the when it was on the Dash News Network before, and it was live then. And
Oh
this
yeah,
is
that's right. Yeah,
yeah, it must have been once, but yeah, it's always good to be live. The good thing about being the good thing about doing things live, you get like live input from people, and that's why if any of you guys are watching in the comments, say stuff, and we will chime in because we don't have a ton of stuff prepared for this. We're not trying to. It's not going to be like an agenda show. This is going to be more of, let's see where it takes us, which is good. And guess what? We're live on Float as well. Yay! All right,
oh very
so
nice.
first, do you use Float at all?
No, I know the project. I know Aaron Nakamoto.
Mm-hmm.
Just got married,
Yes,
so
congratulate.
happy
By the way,
happy thoughts for
congratulations, Kingsley and
congratulations. Yeah,
Aaron, on your marriage, and thanks for making Float that we're streaming on right now as well. I'm not going to
yeah.
thank YouTube, even though it's that's what we're doing. But
Uh, the only reason why I didn't get into Float is because Float is mainly in English. There's no really traction in Portuguese, and
mm,
most of what, or like 97% of my content is in Portuguese for Brazil. So
hmm
that's the only reason. But I did actually follow the project from the beginning, and yeah, it's working pretty good.
yeah, as always, everything is experimental, and I would love to see more funding, more developer time, and all that kind of stuff dedicated to it to make it nice and smooth. The big thing, I'm just saying, hey everyone in the chat, in case you wonder why I'm distracted there. But the big thing that was a pain point is right now they only accept BTC, and so I was getting some people sending me like a buck or two of Bitcoin a month, and then they all stopped when the fees got too high, and now I got nothing. So at some point it'd be great if they add other coins, but hey. Beggars can't be choosers. I didn't pay them anything to use their service for free, so I'm not going to complain too much. I already did that too much. So, yeah. So, what's been going on with you, Rodrigo?
Been working pretty lots with our Dash Brazil project, right? Where we create content, we do
Mm-hmm.
partnerships and association with payment processors. We just got a major partnership with a digital marketing platform called Zygarde.com,
Yeah.
and they are specialized on micropayments.
Mm-hmm.
And because of what we presented to them, they switch from using their own ERC20 token to use Dash for the payment, especially now with this DeFi madness. Ethereum fees are through the roof,
I
and
saw
Dash
that.
fees, yeah, Dash fees are still what, a tenth, 100%.
Something like
So
that. I
yeah,
mean, I think that most major cryptocurrencies are kind of that right now. Most of the non-Bitcoin Ethereum ones.
yeah. So they've been saving about $1,000 to $2,000 a month just in fees once they pay, 3, 4, 7,000 transactions or micro transactions as payment
Mm-hmm.
for people that get into their platform and do literally the proof of work there. You have to follow a few tasks, you do some sharing, comments, and other tasks, and then you get reward for that.
Yeah. So, how does the Sigar platform work? Like, what does it actually do? Explain it to someone who doesn't know anything.
Well, they also they help companies tokenize their business. That's
Mm.
their main business, right? And they also have a marketing program where if you need to boost your social media activity, boost the amount of access on your web page or YouTube, or Twitter or whatever it is. So they created. So you have to get into the platform. It's in English, Portuguese, and Spanish. Once you get into the platform, zyguard.com, you create an account. So because they want to make sure you're a real user.
Of course.
And once you do the task there, sharing, writing down a message, sending an email, or whatever it is for that specific campaign, you do get paid for that. And you do get paid. They used to pay on their own token called Zy, which is a ERC20 token. But with time, I showed them a few numbers that accumulation of fees could cost them a lot. They did a few campaigns with Dash, and they absolutely love it because they were saving, 800 to almost $3,000 a month just in fees. Because for them to move their Zy token, they always had to have Ethereum in their wallets
Mm-hmm.
to pay for gas. And for Dash, there's no such a thing. It's always a cent, a hundred of a cent transaction cost. And doing so, they actually speed up their payment system. They also, I recommend them to use the Electrum wallet, Dash wallet, because you can program multiple payments and fire them at once. And they've been pretty successful. So now they have a plan to ditch their token. They
Mm-hmm.
gotta drive their token to. They're gonna make a couple announcements. They're still creating a plan. They
Mm-hmm.
wanna make sure that everybody's returned their tokens back to them or their exchange. They got a list.
Mm-hmm.
Say, hey, go to this exchange and you can replace your token to Dash on these amounts, because they don't want to just kill the token and whoever is holding,
Yeah, of course.
it's not the type of platform, they don't want to do an exit scam or anything like this. So they want to do this organized, retrieve all their own token, pay everybody with Dash, and then they got to move to 100% payment with Dash.
Yeah, so what they were basically using Ethereum for was just a token, right? Like
Just a token,
they
yeah.
weren't really doing smart contracts or anything.
No, just payment for as a reward for finishing a task.
Yeah, and so I have a feeling that a lot of what's going on Ethereum is exactly that kind of a thing. I know that, so I publish stuff on Publish Zero X, which mostly has Ethereum based tokens and stuff there. Basically, anyone can tip articles. So if you read my stuff, please sign up and tip because it doesn't cost you anything. You tip from like a donated pool of things of, for example, basic attention token, loop ring, DAI, and I believe now just straight up Ethereum as well. Like they have those. And
Yeah.
recently they had to raise the minimum withdrawal, and just because otherwise it wouldn't be worth it to pay everyone out because of all Ethereum fees. And I was like, I like being paid. And so I withdrew a bunch of stuff a few days ago. And then I tried to like move them around and I forgot, oh, I can't move a token without gas, without Ethereum. And so like I received all these useless tokens I literally couldn't do anything with. I'm like, how do I move that? I can't move it. How do you move DAI? I can't move it. I need to get some extra Ethereum, and then it costs a whole bunch just to move the tokens. And I'm like, man, this is 2020 and people are still doing this. Like still have like a different token to like move for their token. And I mean, of course, it's kind of pointless to just have everyone run their own blockchain. But I do like the idea of people just saying, you know what, we're going to use something like Dash that works today. And because we realize we don't need our own token, we don't need to hashtag tokenize everything.
Yeah. I mean, the objective of their token was never to increase in value or to go to $10,000. Was just to pay people
Mm-hmm.
to do a micropayment. Of course, Ethereum is a platform that allows you to do that to a certain point.
Mm-hmm.
But now, once you come to 5,000 microtransactions, this accumulates into a large fee. And which business doesn't want to save a couple $1,000 a
Mm-hmm.
month regarding a different technology that they can use that does exactly the same thing, faster, better, and
Yeah.
cheaper.
Yeah, and that's funny because just today, so I posted an article on Ethereum, and you might have seen this. So I did went to a website, and they basically aggregate cost of living across all countries, and they have like a whole bunch of different independent sources, including like government sources and things like that for statistics, and they found that like the average inexpensive meal. And so, when was the last time you were in Brazil?
That was in March this year.
Yeah, so what I saw, what is quoted as, is the average inexpensive meal is somewhere around like $3.50 US or like 400, something like, was it 20 reais?
Yeah, in Brazil you can have a good meal, as we call marmitex, which is like the one that comes on a to-go box. You know, you
Mm-hmm.
go to the restaurant, ask for the plain plate. That's how they call it. You
Yes.
know, it comes with the more rice, beans, salad, and egg, couple fries,
Yeah.
maybe a chicken steak. You would pay about on a low income neighborhood about 15 to 20 reais. Yes.
Yeah. So that's cheap, and so that's also cheaper than the median Ethereum transaction
Oh
fee.
yeah, I saw. Yeah.
And it's like, well, you could just get like that sounds like a good meal, and like I don't use a lot of calories. You know, I only need like I could survive off of if I didn't work out, I would survive off of that per day. Like that would just be it. I just have one of those per day, and that'd be it. Now imagine choosing between sending your tokens with Ethereum or eating. Now, obviously, I don't think there's a lot of people who are just living that close to the bone in Brazil who are like, just like, I need, like, I'm barely enough to eat, but I need to send Ethereum. Most people don't, right? That's just what
Yeah.
I'm guessing. But it still kind of puts into perspective that at these fee levels, it's pretty crazy. And so I put out an article about this on a few different places, but also on Publish Zero X. Then everyone's like an Ethereum user there because they have to because they get all the tokens, and then they're running in and commenting and like, yeah, it's terrible. I had to withdraw, and they wouldn't withdraw because it was too expensive. It was more expensive to withdraw than the fee, and everyone's all like, getting upset about that stuff. And because of that, I made a video that I I recorded it right before this, so it's not out yet, but hopefully soon, about transaction fees and are they a good thing or bad thing? Because I hear a lot of people saying that transaction fees are actually a good thing. High fees.
I don't agree with that
Hmm.
because this kills, especially, for example, in Brazil right now, Bitcoin is close to getting
Hmm.
all-time high price, even though it never reached $20,000. But the Brazilian real depreciates so much against the dollar
Yeah.
that it's almost the same price. You know, it's just I think 10,000 reais or less.
Hmm.
Uh, so yeah, it depends on which economy. At the moment, we see Latin America losing the value of their currency dramatically, and Argentina is literally on the bottom of the chart there as the worst place to be or to invest at the moment. Stock market, national debt, political uncertainty. Brazil is going towards the same way. We see Latin America, Colombia and Venezuela have a very, very low economy compared to Brazil.
Hmm.
Brazil is an extremely rich country, but we see the increase of that's through what do you call the local bitcoins.
Hmm.
The increase of Bitcoin transactions in Venezuela is skyrocketing in other countries as well, because people are using this as a store of value. You know, even the whole chat about Bitcoin being a peer-to-peer electronic cash transaction, it's migrating to a store of value. And this whole war with fees, and that's how those multi-billion-dollar companies always made money. And I'm talking about Visa and Mastercards
Hmm.
and the banks. You know, it's the fee business is $1 trillion business.
Yeah. And profits are good, I think. I think when people make money, that's a good thing. Now the problem is when you're making money for a subpar service. I don't always like that. In a free market, you should be able to, as long as there's open competition, and there kind of is in crypto, and it's just sort of a matter of time. So, like for example, right now, like today, 10% of what miners make, Bitcoin miners make, comes from fees, and 55% of what Ethereum miners comes from fees, almost over half. Which you're supposed to transition towards a fee-based model eventually, right? You don't just want to inflate the currency, because that's the thing that people don't realize about things like Bitcoin is that there is inflation, and that means that if the demand's about the same, then if you hold Bitcoin, the purchasing power will go down slightly, very slightly. But because it's still a new thing and there's more and more use and demand for it, the price keeps on going up. But so eventually, Bitcoin's inflation runs out and goes to zero. Eventually, Dash's inflation runs out and goes to zero. And then has to be all fees at that point. Now, I think Dash is like a 0.6% 0.6% of the block reward comes from fees. So extremely low right now. But hopefully you get enough transactions and then it can go a lot higher. I think it was like up to like 11% or some days of Dash the fees, like about 11% of the block reward in these giant like spikes. So basically, in order to be a big chunk of the block reward, I think you're going to have like millions and millions of transactions a day.
Yeah, and I mean, this is all embedded on the whole governance of
Mm-hmm.
each project because, in the case of Dash, we have the master node layer, the treasure layer, and the miners layer, and now there's a proposal or the idea of
Mm-hmm.
switching those numbers exactly to reduce the amount of crypto the miners will dump to
Mm-hmm.
pay their costs that they have. Master nodes will accumulate more, but the master nodes have a very important role inside the network for
Mm-hmm.
voting and deciding where to spend the money of the treasury. And I want to bring to a topic that even though people complain saying Dash is behind schedule
Mm-hmm.
with evolution, all that, and just today or yesterday, we have to understand, do it slow, but make it happen. If you guys are aware of what happened to that DeFi YAM thing, they lost
Yeah.
$60 million. They lost $60 million because the token, the governance didn't work. There was a bug. Apparently, the treasury money got stuck somewhere and then nobody has access. The developer put a note saying, "Hey, I'm sorry, guys. I lost everybody's money. I screw up." And they just killed the project in 2 days, and $60 million is gone because there was no governance. There was no consensus of what to agree and what not to agree, and they rush. They basically rush.
Yeah, that's so. First, I just have to laugh because it's called Yam, and
Yeah,
it's just like okay, I'm gonna invest all my money in potato. It's just like
or bananas.
or banana in this case as an actual token. Like it is pretty crazy, and at least like Dogecoin, at least it's an actual dog goes woof woof and says wow and things like that. At least it's a thing. But like pear, no, or like Apple, like it's kind of weird. Well, I mean Apple's an actual company and stuff, so it's a little bit not as different. But it's kind of funny that like they do that, but also solving governance ahead of time is a huge thing, and it do you ever feel like the smart person first off I'm sure both of us feel like the dumb person in the room sometimes when everyone's talking about all this fancy stuff or just like I don't understand what anyone's talking about, but I do feel like the smart person in the room in all the wrong times, and that's like the only smart person in the room when Bitcoin had its scaling problems. Of course there was a lot of disagreement on how you could scale, like is it on chain, is it whatever. And so Dash was doing his own thing for years before Bitcoin Cash came around. And then they're like, well, we'll just do, Bitcoin, but with bigger blocks, and that's it. And the whole time I was thinking, well, why did you get in this place to begin with? Is it maybe because you had a governance problem? And then this Bitcoin Cash split to Bitcoin SV. And then now there still might be another Bitcoin Cash split because they're
Yeah,
fighting over developer stuff. And it's like, you got to fix things before it gets too late.
yeah. I mean, I think it's on the protocol wars. It's a term that I heard on Twitter, and I really like. The
Mm-hmm.
protocol wars is happening right now.
Mm-hmm.
People are rushing projects. There's zillions of ideas out there. There's some great ideas. There's some really dumb ideas. A lot of people are experimenting with a lot of things in smart contracts creation, token
Mm-hmm.
creation, tokenization of literally people, business, assets, body parts. You can tokenize everything you want today. So it's literally it's a no man's land.
Yeah.
As I tell people, crypto it's not really an investment. We are
Mm-hmm.
developing systems that will replace historical systems that are not working, that can eliminate bureaucracy, that can eliminate international money transaction. There is value. You might make a lot of money, but you also might lose a lot of money. And there's a lot of hype going on at this time. We can see for DeFi. DeFi, it's the youngest son of the ICOs. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
DeFi's are projects that made money during the ICOs, and some good serious projects out there. And we saw this YAM case that they rush. They try to catch things that while it's happening, and that's one of the reasons why I'm very proud of the Dash community, because people might complain it's slow, it's behind schedule. And like, yeah, it is, but it's up and running. They're developing. There are constant updates from the network. There's weekly or every bi-weekly updates from the core team of what they're doing. And so far, we had some major updates and implementations like uh, the master node, deterministic master node updates, and the LLMQ as well. And we didn't have a single issue with those updates that actually shipped the entire network.
Yeah.
What this to me is the real proof that we are on the right track of making things happen. One of the examples that I saw from Andreas Antonopoulos in one of his lectures was, you have to think about an airplane full of people traveling at high speed, 30,000 miles up in the sky, and you have to replace the engine while all this is happening without crashing the plane.
Yeah,
And
it's rough.
that's what's happening.
Yeah, and a lot of people, I'm sure with like a few different cryptocurrencies, there's people that rely on them. But as far as Bitcoin, I think that's the big one that there's real people that rely on it for real purposes at this point. And a lot of that real purpose is they can't send or receive fiat currency for whatever reason. They need to use this, like dark web stuff or other reasons like that. Or they just need to not lose all their money to hyperinflation, like Venezuela and Argentina and Lebanon and Zimbabwe, and like there's too many to name right now. It's kind of sad, and it's kind of sad that you also can't. You kind of have to pick between something you can use and something that's not going to like rob you of all your value. But it's kind of funny about thinking of the experimental boom, and I think that Dash, when it came out with Private Send, it came out with Masternodes, and the first Instant Send, that was kind of experimental Dash. Like, that was kind of fully experimental. It works, it's good, but like, some things, we're still working out bugs. But now, I would say that it's pretty professional. So first off, really hard to attack. Like right now, like proof of work is an experimental kind of technology, and it works pretty well. The incentives to attack something as large as Bitcoin are very low. And something like, say, let's just go down to like Litecoin or Bitcoin Cash or Bitcoin SV, that's a little shakier with those last two, but it's still kind of low. But then there's a tipping point at Ethereum Classic where you're just going to get screwed. And
Twice in 1 week, right? Or two times in 2 weeks, something like
yes,
this.
2 times in 1 week. And what is it? Coinbase changed it to where they now want to wait 2 weeks before they recognize a transaction.
It sounds like a joke, but I mean, this is slower than a bank, than an international transaction in the 80s.
Which reminds me, Uphold just today
I
announced.
saw the announcement, yeah.
They announced, and I'm trying to write an article, and I'm hoping to get quotes back from them and stuff. So I want to make sure it's something that's balanced. But just like the super quick headline is, for if you do a ACH, a bank transfer, and you buy crypto or whatever you do with that money, you have to wait over 2 months to be able to do anything for it in most cases because of some sort of security issues regarding ACH. Now, I don't know, in like credit card, like if you have a debit card and you deposit that way, it's no waiting period at all. But ACH bank transfers, and there's something with that they don't trust it for 2 months.
What does the ACH stands for?
It's kind of like SEPA or something like that. It's a different way of wiring money. I'm not a huge expert in the whole banking system, so I don't really know the difference. But ACH is basically how in the U.S. a lot of people wire money. So it's like the direct deposit or whatever. It's usually through ACH. So I mean, again, this is what I think. I haven't used a bank in 4.5 years or whatever, but yeah. So it's clearly there's a security issue there, and so think about Ethereum Classic. But then now think about ACH. It's like both are kind of in the same territory. So with proof of work, you're trying to find a way for a decentralized network to be able to be more efficient than a centralized network. And right now, it's a little tricky. Now, proof of stake has had some issues and stuff in the past. Mostly there's no hugely major proof of stake coin that is like worked out okay yet. I mean, there's quite a few less than huge proof of stake coins that are out there, but then we have you have Ethereum, which ETH 2.0 is trying to go towards that route to hopefully scale better. But Dash is using chain locks as a second layer of protection against 51% attacks to try to make sure that if things go weird, it's like extra, extra, extra careful. And then, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I like how Dash became this hybrid
Mm-hmm.
token. Even though we have some very strong opinions on the network about
Mm-hmm.
that, it's not like a Bitcoin maximalist. That have to follow exactly what says on the white paper of Satoshi or whatever. Dash has this ability to play around and develop those things, and they've been implemented very successful with chain locks. And in my opinion, in my vision, this is one of the first steps for maybe in 5 years or more to move Dash to 100% stake token. Even though the mining operation, there's a lot of discussions for this. Ethereum was planning to do the same thing,
Mm-hmm.
and of course we don't want to be the first one to do this, because as we saw in Yam, one little mistake and you can sink the entire project in a matter of hours. So with this, I think slowly is the way, because again, we are implementing a network worldwide of payments, and we're dealing with people's money, people's savings, people's investments. That the
Yeah.
responsibility that the developers have to have. Me as a YouTuber promoting this, I'm not the kind of guy saying, "Hey, go buy Dash because you gotta be a millionaire." Never said that. That's not the purpose of the whole network. So
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot at stake that we have to take in consideration, and those things are moving extremely fast. Even though we think it's behind schedule, it's slow, it's late, the amount of technology we have today and what happened in the payment system in the past decade, it's moving extremely fast. It's mind blowing.
Yeah. And like I've been a cryptocurrency user, like not just had some, but have been frequently using like it several times a week since 2013. And I've seen the evolution, pardon the pun, right? Since then, because at first I had a Bitcoin wallet, I had one Bitcoin address. So everyone who saw that address could see how much money I had and stuff. And after a while, all of a sudden, the wallet changed, and now I had like a bunch of them. And I'm like, I didn't understand. Like, what the hell is this? Like, I want to go back to my one. And I kept on selecting the one I was used to because I didn't understand that for privacy reasons you want others, but they're all kind of part of the same private keys and all that. I didn't understand that. Just that has changed, but now, and that's made it advanced. It's still confusing. And then I remember zero confirmation transactions where you just send them, they'd show up right away, and then eventually people figured out how to double spend, and then eventually you started having stuff wait for confirmations. So like when I used to use, you remember Gift, GYFT from back in the day? It's sort of like a bit refill from like the old days.
Yeah, I remember that. Yes.
Yeah, so when I used Gift in the beginning, they didn't require confirmations. So I would buy a gift card and I'd get it right away. And then someone figured out how to like 51 how to double spend, and so then they started requiring confirmation, so I had to wait 10 minutes, but then the blocks filled up and it was like an hour and stuff, and so that got completely changed. But then we have, of course, Dash with instant send, and if we remember in the beginning, instant send was like two wallets could use it. It was a big deal when the mobile wallets could use it, but you had to manually do a little check, and it would do 10 times the fee, and
Yeah.
then you could not, when you received an instant send transaction, you could not respend that right away. It was stuck in your wallet for a while. And so the way crypto works is I remember instant sending people money, and then my Dash was locked up for a while because you have like a one Dash block, right? A one Dash in one input. And then whenever you send it to someone, you send them the whole one Dash, and then you get the change. You get the rest in the change address. So when I used instant send, that and the change were locked up for 6 confirmations. So I paid one person with instant send. I just wait like 20 minutes before I could send anything else. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, this sucks. And then they made instant send by default for everyone. They took away the extra fee. They made it instantly respendable. And now it's just so smooth. And everything else seems stupid in comparison. And I can like, so now we have high security, and now we have really good user experience. And then we experimented some scaling. Of course, my friend Dr. Darren Tapp is heavy in researching that, and I just can't wait till the next iteration.
He actually reached out to me. I sent him my email. I think we gotta talk to Dr. Darren Tapp as well.
Mm-hmm.
Just remind me. But yeah, see, everything evolved really fast. And
Yeah.
one of the things that's about to happen in Brazil that's gonna boost the how people use payment system is Brazil, among with all the banks and the banks association or the bank cartel, whatever you want to
Mm-hmm.
call. They developed, the government's coming, it's implementing what they call the PIX, which is
Mm.
a payment system 100% centralized, 100% controlled by the government, but it's got to settle instantly with a 1 cent fee.
Mm.
So they will be able to pay any type of bill on any bank, from any bank to any bank. So
That's
it's got to be
nice.
just, well, that's nice. But this is great because it's got to force 200 million people or whoever has access to payment systems traditionally to stop using credit card, to stop using checks. People still write checks in Brazil, to stop using money wire or docs or TEDs that what we have in Brazil, and will force everybody to learn, and most important, how to trust, to receive and send money by scanning a square with a bunch of little squares
Mm-hmm.
inside. So that barrier in people's mind of trust will be heavily destroyed really fast, starting in Brazil. I think they put the official date for this in November, because people have to use this, and they'll have to trust the system. And that's a system that crypto has it for 10 years already, scanning QR codes and
Mm-hmm.
receiving money. So this, in my opinion, will increase in the educational process of people having a wallet, and most important, trusting to receive and send crypto just by scanning a little square full of other little squares. Nobody understands how it works. Majority of people don't care how it works. But once they understand, because that's the only solution that they have, because the government's forcing to them, I see this as a positive aspect. Even though
Mm.
PIX, it's the first step for 100% control centralized crypto, and even the president of the central bank in Brazil mentioned that this is the first step for the Brazilian digital currency, central bank digital currency.
Yeah, that's a fascinating step. I do think that it's probably going to make life better for a lot of people in the short term, but it's going to wreck life for a lot of other people, because right now people use what they can, and anytime you have a big shakeup and you start to like hurt a lot of people along the way, some people adapt and others die. It's just the way nature works. Anytime you have like a big shift in climate, a bunch of species go extinct and a bunch do a lot better. And
You gotta
so
think the heart, my friend.
yeah. So it's really like, for example, with the whole lockdowns when that happened earlier in the year, a bunch of businesses went out of business because they did not know how to do online ordering or delivery. They just weren't like set up to do that. They were just like, we're used to our same group of customers coming in, and then it really forced people to evolve. And I think it's going to be the same thing with this, except you're going to put a lot of people out of business. A lot of people won't have phones. Like, does everyone have a smartphone in Brazil? I mean, I'm sure it can't be everyone.
No, no. So that's another issue as well. They have to chop on their 5G implementation, some remote areas implementation of, or cutting tax for importing
Mm-hmm.
technology, laptops, smartphones, and other devices, or cashier, QR codes, POS systems, things like this. So there's a whole bunch of things that needs to be changed, and this is gonna happen really, really fast. But once it comes from a government federal level,
Mm-hmm.
that there's a payment system that you must use by scanning QR code, I think this is gonna shake down the entire population to learn. And but the government, it will be excluding people, like happened 2.5 years ago with in India, when they literally remove all the fiat out of circulation. And India is a poorest country compared to Brazil regarding remote areas and access to technology in certain areas, and things like this. So there was a lot of farmers, rural areas and interior areas, that they had no cash. They had no phone lines, no system, no cell phones, no technology, no basic Wi-Fi or internet. Yeah, and then they were literally out of the system.
Yeah, and I wonder. Obviously, every country is a different way, but I can speak from only experience in the U.S. where I've used because I've never really used the banking system in other countries. I've used the U.S. banking system traveling to other countries, or when I lived in Mexico, I was too young and I just had cash anyway. But basically, the people who are excluded from the payment system would be, first off, like right now, I live in New Hampshire, and the bordering states of New Hampshire, Vermont, Maine, and Massachusetts combined have fewer people than the number of illegal immigrants in the whole US. So more than this entire area, there's people who don't have papers, therefore they're kind of excluded from the banking system. What are those people going to use? And you're not going to say, "Oh, well, it shouldn't be here anyway. Kick them out." Well, they're here. What are you going to do? How are they going? What are they going to use? They're not going to be like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'll go back," and just take off. It's too late, right? There's a lot of people who grew up their whole lives here, other than like since they were a small child, and that's all they know. Then also, what happens in the U.S. banking system? You need a permanent address, like a permanent mailing address. And what happens if you don't for whatever reason? Like, what happens if, for example, this has happened to someone I know. Uh, what happens if you're married and you have joint bank accounts and you need your own bank account when you get divorced? But when you get divorced, you leave the house. Now you don't have a house. You can't really rent a new place without, or a good one at least, without a bank account. Now you're kind of stuck. Like, how do you get a permanent address? Like, you just kind of have
Or
to.
if you work in a circus, you're traveling city to city as well.
Yeah, you don't have one of those. What if you have like a cannabis business or some other business that's like, not working? What happens if you have a crypto business? So like LBRY, the, decentralized video and other content protocol, the company that runs that, they lost their bank accounts not too long ago. I think they got different ones, but they were just deemed weird and risky. And also the CEO and his family, they just, even his like small child who has like a bank account in his name, like lost his bank account too. And it's just like, well, what do you do if you just daddy played with blockchain, so now that I can't have a bank account right now? It's really weird. So what kind of situations can you see in Brazil where people might not be able to get on the system? We already have the smartphone and like the technological problem. Like if you don't have a smartphone or the internet sucks, but what other reasons would keep people from using it?
Well, in Brazil we have what we call the favelas or the
Mm-hmm.
slums. Where there's majority of the population lives.
Mm-hmm.
Not majority, but a big chunk of population lives, which is a place with sometimes, even though on the slums level, there's some developed ones and underdeveloped ones. Some of them, the sewers still running open. Some of them are not. Some of them have houses made out of wood. Some
Mm-hmm.
of them already have houses made out of a brick. In Brazil, brick is actually cheaper than wood, so it's easier to build houses with bricks and blocks than wood. It's not like in the US that it's a different type of housing system.
Mm-hmm.
So those places, they have a sharing network of lighting. Basically, it's stolen electricity. Some of them actually, the communities organize themselves and number the houses, and they pay for the electricity.
Mm-hmm.
So it varies from the region. North of Brazil is a very poor. Northeast of Brazil is a very poor area, very rural area as well. No access to technology or internet. Some of them will have radio internet, but that's a 1-2 megabytes speed. So it's a whole factor. Of course, the government always sees central big cities like São Paulo and Rio, which you have like 30 million people combined, and you don't even have birds in São Paulo anymore because there's only concrete. There's no more trees or anything like that. Everything died. The pollution is so high. So it will take time to adapt. But again, technology moves faster than regulations, than governments. So technology is always 10 steps ahead. By the time that they try to catch up, in my opinion, it will be too late.
Yeah, it's funny. Um, Great Wolf in the comments said, and we all know what stolen electricity is being used for. Probably not. There's probably not giant mining operations in the favelas, but you never know, right? But
Yeah.
And that's the other thing. Dash Text, which is a Dash-based SMS wallet, lets you send crypto with just text commands, and it exists because there's a demand for that kind of a thing, particularly in Venezuela. Now, does Dash Text working in Brazil right now? I don't remember.
It does. It does work in Brazil. They have everything set up.
Mm-hmm.
But again, for my audience, I promoted Dash Tax. The usage is very low
Mm-hmm.
because Brazil is a very large country. Even though the YouTube channel is for the entire Brazil, it's in Portuguese.
Mm-hmm.
It is, my audience. I can tell it's like middle class and upper class people that are following and watching and doing crypto things.
Mm-hmm.
So, and middle class in Brazil is a very rich middle class. Even the the low income class in Brazil is a very rich class,
Mm-hmm.
comparing to the situation of Colombia, Venezuela, Peru, Bolivia. Uh, Brazil has very high standards, a lot of technology, a lot of wealth. At the same time, it has the poverty. The social distance is very high between those two
Mm-hmm.
extremely sides. Um, so yeah, there's Dash Dex, which I use it. I've tested. We promote it in Brazil. People use it, but not as much as Venezuela and Colombia.
Yeah, so we can imagine a situation where right now the people who are interested in crypto already have the means to send or receive it. But now you hit the point where what if the government makes stuff like cash or other cards or stuff like that obsolete? So is the government trying to phase out cash, or is it just like cards and other bank transfers?
Funny that you asked. Just today, I was reading a research that Brazil is dropped to third country in the world in use of cash still.
Hmm.
So Brazil uses a lot of cash. Colombia, I think it's the first or the second one. I can't remember now. So Brazil is the third.
Hmm.
Uh, and again, it's a mentality thing because the government just released the new 200 reais bill,
Hmm.
and people are very excited. There's a new bill. It's 200. I'm like, guys, this is just a perfect example that your money is losing value.
Hmm.
If you need a 200 reais bill because the 100 you can barely buy things, the 1 real bill disappear. You can't find 1 real bill anymore because it's worth basically nothing. That's how this inflation slowly takes away from people. So
Yeah. And I
so
noticed
so
that
Brazil
as
has a
well.
very high use of cash still.
Yeah, so people who are using cards or whatever, so the cash people, like the poor people who are using just, or not always poor, but a lot of poor people using cash. Then there's the people using cards and processor up here. When they all get forced to convert to the new payment system, the new electronic payment system, there will be the cash people will still be fine, I guess, but there will be some people in the middle who are kind of too old tech to use the new stuff, but we're already using cards. They're too old tech to to have smartphones, but they were still using cards and other things, and they're going to be sort of scrambling. And so those people would be a perfect little band of people to target for crypto to use, Dash Text because they can still use it on the old phones. And I don't think I'm making assumptions, but I don't think the Brazilian government is probably going to say, "Hey, here's this cool, innovative way of sending our thing via flip phone." They probably won't care.
Yeah, they wouldn't care. We can see that the educational process is the hardest part of this whole adaptation period, because the government will have to educate people how to send and receive funds using QR code and phone and computers. So this is coming very fast, and that's what crypto does. That's what we teach in our channel. But in our case, we say, hey, there's 12 words. You have to make a backup because if you lose those 12 words, you lose your money. As
Hmm.
simple as that. If you write it down this backup, write it down in 2, 3 places. With the PIX centralized payment system in Brazil, this will be controlled by the government. So I don't know if they're gonna attach this to your social security number and you always have an account. They did release the rules and the steps for companies to adapt. I haven't had time to read because it was just this week they did that. But there's several questions about ownership of each wallet. Let's say like this. So let's say that I have my Pix account where I can receive funds on my phone, and I lose my phone. What do they have 12 words as well? Do I
Hmm.
call the 8100 number from the government or the bank to get a new one? Is this attached to my social security number? Is this also synchronized to my bank accounts? How does this system talks to each other? So this educational process, I only see that it will benefit crypto because crypto it's already working for 11 years using QR code to scan and send and receive funds.
Yeah, that's I think it's going to be interesting to see the government do the heavy lifting for education and then someone else sneak in there if they want to. Now, Great Wolf was asking, he says, I'm surprised people down there aren't flocking more to Dash and other cryptos than they already are. Do you have any insight onto why that might be? Why it's not like a hugely popular thing?
Oh, it is. It is popular. It's a huge popular thing. Brazil has over 50 exchanges, crypto exchanges. We
Mm,
have Dash listed in over 15. Bitcoin, of course, Bitcoin is still the most traded crypto. I think, what do you call Ripple as well, because there was a lot of talk with the Central Bank of Brazil with Ripple, so it got into the media. Dash has actually a very, very huge and strong community in Brazil. We've been closing more partnerships than ever that people follow my channel and our proposals can see. But yeah, Brazil is ahead. I think there's no other country in Latin America ahead of Brazil in crypto today. Mexico is catching up. There's a lot of money in Mexico to be explored in the remittances business between Mexico and the U.S. Where majority or there's a big Mexican community that lives in the U.S. So there's a huge opportunity there, and we've seen some exchanges now going for that market. One of them is Bitso. They even have plans to expand to Brazil as well. And like, great, one more exchange, bring it in because then we start the fee war against exchange. That's one exchange competing to other exchange to see who offers a better service with better fees. So that's
yeah,
a pretty healthy thing.
that's what I like about competition between other cryptocurrencies. Like I remember back in the day when it was just Bitcoin. It was Bitcoin worked fine, everything was good, and then Bitcoin stopped working as well for regular payments, and then it was kind of a rough situation because everything ran on Bitcoin. Now, if I want to use crypto, like I can just use my favorite little one, which is Dash, and that's like all I need to use for anything basically. Like I can buy whatever I want with it. I can, it's just there's not like, oh man, if only the only thing that's been a holdout that I have is Purse.io, and the annoying thing about that is you have to like deposit more than you want to spend, and you got to adjust the settings and just wait, see how what your discount is. Wait a little. It's a little bit more of a process. It's not like I'm missing out by not using Purse. And I did convert some Dash to Bitcoin Cash a few months ago to try to do Purse, and it's been a hassle to use, and I don't think I'm going to use it again. But so back in the day, especially when I started using Dash, there was like a few places that accepted directly, and everything else was like, oh, through a Shapeshift integration or something like that, or But now it's just you kind of get your run of your pick. Same thing with like in the U.S., Coinbase was the number one huge broker and exchange, and you needed to be on Coinbase. Now it's still good to be on Coinbase, but you can be on other things like Uphold and things like that. Like although you will have to wait 2 months to have your bank transfer, recognized, but whatever.
Well, now talking about the expansion of Brazil, just now Refill adds I think 40 or 45 gift cards that you can buy with Dash and spend in Brazil for local store, gas station, food
Hmm.
delivery, clothes store, hotels.com, and the basic, Uber, McDonald's, a bookstore, Spotify, and all those generic ones that goes everywhere. But that I saw this as a positive aspect because the market is growing, and we have more and more companies and business looking into Brazil and other countries in Latin America to set foot, set shop, and we see as well for a couple of Chinese exchanges as well going to Brazil and setting like an office to be the headquarters for South America or Latin America.
Yeah, so when you said that Brazil is like number one in Latin America, does that mean total number of people who have touched cryptocurrency? Does that mean total volume? Like what's the metric that makes Brazil number one?
Well, the economy, first of all, Brazil is a very rich country, and the
Mm-hmm.
stock market, the most valuable one
Mm-hmm.
uh, after the U.S. You see the numbers is I think 3 or 4 times higher than the stock market in Canada. Even Brazil has a huge commodity stocks for meat, soybeans, corn, ethanol, oil,
Yeah.
gas, petroleum, and all that. And also, so which means Brazil has a very rich middle class and upper class. Has the largest quantity of millionaires after U.S. In Latin America, largest quantity of billionaires as well after U.S. Largest military force after U.S. in the entire America, even bigger than Canada. So those numbers, shows that Brazil is a rich country in a lot of aspects.
Hmm.
Let me see if I can search. You can talk about something because then let me search here Cointelegraph
For the
because I
crypto
saw a news.
stuff.
Let's see if I can find here.
Yeah, because it's interesting to see. Crypto's kind of a weird dichotomy because I think it's least useful to least necessary to the first world, to the most developed countries. Yet it seems to be most used by those countries. And so it's this weird thing where anyone I walk up on the street and say, "Hey, do you want to use Dash? Do you want to like I can they all have a smartphone that works for that. They are all pretty familiar with using it. I can teach them how to use it pretty easily. They have enough disposable income to deal with a fluctuation, not everyone, but some to deal with some price fluctuations here and there. They can, if they want to be a business and convert, they can sign up for an exchange, something like Uphold, and convert it. It all works. Like it works the best in the developed world, like the U.S. But people don't care. People do care because they think it's cool tech and they think it's going to go up in value and they'll buy it and stuff. But it does. They don't need it. And then you go to the extreme other end, which is like Venezuela, where you definitely need it because your money's losing value all the time. You got a lot of problems sending payments and things like that, and it's just like a big pain in the butt. But then it's just so much harder to use it because there's not as much technological development. The power grid doesn't always stay on. Not as much education, and people don't really have the luxury of trying to figure out new radical payment systems. They just want money to work right now, and so they tend to use like the U.S. dollar, for example. Let me see.
I have here one of the news from October 2019. Brazil move about at current rate today about 10 billion. So about $2 billion in 6 months worth of crypto.
And how does that rank against other countries?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, there's
I don't know
still
that part.
still a lot of money. Like Moose, 2 billion. I mean, that's like three Dash market caps, right?
Yeah, well, the volume on the exchange that we have in Brazil, I can open this right now. So, for example, the topest exchange in Brazil moves about 200 to 250
Mm-hmm.
Bitcoins per day. The second one 190, the third one 118, the fourth one 87. This is those numbers from today.
Mm-hmm.
The fourth one 51, and then you have a whole bunch of exchange that has like 5 to 10 bitcoins per day volume, and a
Mm-hmm.
whole bunch of exchange that has like 1 Bitcoin volume per day. But they have,
Yeah, yeah, that's pretty cool. That I think a lot of people are like when people talk about like what areas are they focusing on for crypto. I think that most of the crypto world revolves around the U.S. Unfortunately, because I think that so for example like the U.S. regulations, things like that, and people in who are U.S. based who are developing stuff, and I think people are going to be surprised when some other country just jumps to the top. Like, Brazil, the sleeping giant, right? Just shooting to the top before anywhere else, especially if the crypto volumes keep going up. And I don't know. What do you
Well,
think of that?
well, there's several aspects that we have to take in consideration. What is the political turmoil happening? The volume of the traditional stock markets we have to take in consideration. We also have to analyze how open the country is to crypto, the amount of exchanges or the doors for the money to flow into crypto. Brazil is definitely leading Latin America with those numbers, and plus Brazilians have in history they're specialists in money. In 15 years, we Brazil government changed the name of the currency 7 times. reprinting money every six months, 1 year. They would just come and cut three zeros, print new bills, change the name of the bill or the money, and say, "Hey, everybody, starting tomorrow, that's the new bill. You have to use it." Actually, I have one of those here. This is I found it in my parents' house deed from the 80s. My mom got a payment from a place where she worked, but she didn't go enough to collect. And then when she went, there was already the new bills. So I have a stash of money here, right?
It's not
So
worth
this is
anything.
it's not worth anything. But the beauty about this, it's actually worth quite a little bit of money today because this is where we used to call in the 70s United States of Brazil, right? So
Hmm.
that's the official name. It used to be United States of Brazil, República, né? Republic of United, and it
Hmm.
has a stamp. So the government was so cheap, and there was not enough time to make new bills. So they will take the current bills and stamp. And so this was a 10 Cruzeiro bill,
Hmm.
but it was just worth 1 cent because the government devalue the money, cut six zeros. And
Yeah.
that's how it is six times in 15 years. So we know how money works, and we're gonna move to crypto really fast
Yeah. And I
because we
use
really like the government.
I use that example all the time of when I was a kid. I remember my grandmother had a big when she died, we cleaned out her house. There's a big stash of coins that were worth nothing, old pesos from before the 90s. And then I'm just like, "Daddy, why are those like what are those? Oh, they're pesos. They don't look like these. Oh, they're no good anymore. Why? Cuz they're old. Well, why? Because the government got rid. They said those are no good, and then these are the good ones. Like, oh, okay. So pretty much as soon as I knew about money, I just knew that I knew that the government was going to try some
Paper.
nonsense.
Yeah,
Yeah,
look at my stash from Venezuela. This is money here. That's what we look at this bill here.
yeah,
10,000 bolivars. You know,
yeah. See,
so all this when I was there was worth less than 25 cents. Actually, a double stack. The other half, I gave it away to people
yeah.
uh,
Your Bolivar ballin'. I all I got is this
as a
one.
little. Oh yeah, you have one.
Just one. That's it.
See, and we have a little stamp there that we start a little campaign. Fuck the
Yeah.
bank, go crypto.
Well, nice. Yeah. I think it's gonna take a while for people to start catching on. I think people don't really because the technology's new, and people just know digital, right? Digital payments, but they don't know what's behind it, what the unit of money. They just say, "Oh, someone issued it," but they don't understand how it's secure. And then crypto, they just say, "Oh, it's worth much. It's this new stuff that people created," but they don't really understand why is it worth more than a digital dollar. And I think that that's going to be the real turning point is when you have education to where
Yeah,
people understand where money comes from and what can be done and what doesn't what how it doesn't work. Even in crypto, financial education is pretty low. Like it's way higher than other industries for sure, but it's still kind of low where people don't understand inflation. Like they don't understand when you pay miners to, when you pay miners with new coins created, that makes your coins worth less unless the value goes up for other reasons, right? All things equal, that means your share of the pie goes down. And they're like, oh, we just do. And like even in Dash, when people are spending money on proposals, they just say, oh, we have like a few, you have like a couple hundred Dash left in the budget. We should just spend it on this that has no value. But they're like, well, we got to spend it, otherwise it's not created, and we don't get the, when we were burning free money. It's like, well, it's not free money. That means there's every time you spend money on a treasury proposal, all your money is worth slightly less, all other things being equal. And so, and like the mindset that people are starting to sort of catch on is kind of it's kind of crazy.
yeah, definitely. That's why I mentioned in the beginning. I think the educational process that the government will be forced to teach people how to use QR code
Mm-hmm.
and put in people's mind that they don't have to touch money; they
Mm-hmm.
can just scan. So that line, that mental barrier in people's mind, and I'm talking about not just low income neighborhoods. I'm talking about upper class as well, and the rich people. Educational financial education is a problem in all levels of society
Mm-hmm.
because we see people losing like pyramid schemes happening and people from upper level society rich people losing their monies as well, and that they're supposed to be financially educated and they're not. So this transaction and cryptocurrencies are here to basically implement one thing worldwide, which is the question: what is money? How did we believe in a piece of paper for so long?
Yeah. Well, one thing that I'm hoping to start telling people is in the US is like the worst because it's the best. Because it's got some of the, one of the more stable fiat currencies in the whole world, it's harder to educate people because they just say, "Oh, it's worth money." But let me just take like over the last few years, when I started working and accepting Dash for payments in 2016, because that's when I paid more attention to price and stuff like that. I could it was about one and a half it was about 1.5 Dash to buy a hamburger, right? Because it was at $7 per Dash, so it was like around 10, a little over 10. And now it's about what is it with like $90 Dash or whatever? It's like zero point 0.1 Dash to sort of buy, or 0.15 or something like that. So it's like my purchasing power has gone way, 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 way up for the Dash, while the dollar, I can't buy as much hamburgers for that much now. So, yeah. So, where can people find more about what you do so they can follow you now?
So our channel is called Dash Dinheiro Digital, or Dash Digital Cash in Portuguese.
Mm-hmm.
We are on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Cos.tv, which is a competitor of YouTube, but it's big in Brazil. A lot of traction in Portuguese
Yeah, I heard
videos
about
there.
that.
We also the same name, Dash Digital, Dash Dinheiro Digital, in all social medias possible. Facebook, we have the page. I'm on Twitter as well. People can reach me out. And you mentioned about the price of the Big Mac or the cheeseburger there with Dash. It reminded me of the Big Mac Index. And the Big Mac Index is a very powerful tool to measure
Yeah.
the ability that a society has of purchasing power
Mm-hmm.
based on the price of the Big Mac in their countries and the conversion to dollars. So this was actually done by an economist,
Yeah.
and still up and running. I was trying to search here for the website,
Yeah.
the Big Mac Index. Take a look. It's actually a pretty serious metric system to see the power and the ability of purchasing power of a country.
Yeah, there was something that Bloomberg used, which is like the cafe con leche index or something like that. There was like
Yeah,
a price of a coffee. It's similar to that. Well,
yeah.
anyway, so we'll definitely have everyone follow you, and everyone, thanks very much for thanks and Hillary's commenting triggered regarding spending all the treasury. Anyway, yeah, sorry to bring up sensitive topics, but anyway, if you enjoyed this at all, please make sure you subscribe to the actual channel, because you want to have you want to actually get the notification when it goes live in about 2 weeks. And so there's a subscribe thingy down over here, but it's not really a button, so who cares? But then right down there is my coin tree. You go to cointr.ee/the desert links, or go to cointr.ee and just search for the desert links. There's a search function now. It has all my links and stuff like that, including crypto donation things, which 99% is all in Dash that I get. And you can send me messages with the donation. So if you send me like $5 in Dash and say, "Hey, we should talk to this guy or interview this guy," or "Hey, your face smells like cheese," or whatever else you
We,
want to
we
say.
like donations. We like donations.
Yes, we definitely like donations. So please go and do that. And remember, that's the easiest way to get a hold of me. You can also message me everywhere. But if it comes with some money, of course I'm going to listen. So hit that up. Now, of course, we're gonna publish this. I'm gonna release this on all the different channels over the weekend in case you missed it live. And now it's time for the after party, which is kind of like this, and maybe not for Rod. He looks like a very busy man from here, but it's a place where we can just chat, kind of like this, as many people as you want, as late as you want. But it's not recorded, so you can get a little wild. Just please keep your clothes on. So the way you get to there is you go to staydashy.com. I'm gonna type that into the live chat real quick. Staydashy.com. That gets you into the Dash Talk Discord. And then you just start asking around, speakeasy style. "Hey, where's the after party? I want to get in the after party." And you'll get put in, and we might go to the wee hours of the morning. We'll see. Any final words?
No, thanks everybody. So follow our channel, our YouTube channel there, Dash Dinero Digital. You will see the bottom playlist on the front page. I have all the interviews I've done in English with the
Mm-hmm.
toppest names in crypto in the world, from Roger Ver to Eric Voorhees, John Mad
Mm-hmm.
Dog Hall, and many others. One of the proudest one is Mark Yusko, the hedge fund manager. We talk about Dash and other crypto.
Yeah.
And of course, take a look on our documentary. You can search on YouTube. It's in English, called Venezuela and
Mm-hmm.
the Cryptocurrency Revolution.
Yeah. Great stuff. Well, thanks everyone, and we
Thanks,
will
everyone.
see you again next week.